And we are live.
Hello, everybody.
Cool. Welcome, everybody. I'm Tanuski
How's it-
Steve.
Hey,
and
I'm Metavulp.
I'm here at
And
Metavulp,
KittyFangs.
and we're here to talk about, give you a behind-the-scenes view of some of the decision-making and some of the tech that went into bringing DC Furs 2020 online this year. So let me introduce myself first. I'm a board member of Hack Your Lives and one of the founding members of DEFCON Furs. Been involved in the hacker and furry community for my whole life. It feels like definitely been a hacker my whole life. Definitely been a furry. It feels like my whole life. In fact, I was just talking with someone else about how I think I was a furry probably when I was like a little kid when I was talking to the dogs next door. Anyway, so seriously, like actually having conversations. It wasn't just like barking commands, like actually having conversations. Anyway, let's go ahead and introduce some others. Let's go ahead and introduce Metavulp. Why don't you go ahead and get started and introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Metavulp. I'm also one of the founding board members for Hack Your Lives and all the DEFCON Furs shenanigans at DEFCON. Been part of that since before it became like a quote-unquote officially named DEFCON Furs, and just love help putting it together every year.
Cool. And KittyFang?
So KittyFangs, Kit Kat. I didn't meet DEFCON Furs until DEFCON 27 last year.
Yeah.
And volunteered last year, and then got involved in the planning for this year, and then really have just been working with Steve and Aloe and everybody in the whole team for this whole year, getting everything done. And we were planning on that in-person event, and everybody knows what happened. So, and here we are. So we've done our conference, and now we're moving forward from there, looking at next year, looking at what we're going to do through next year. And so that's where we are today.
Indeed. Hopefully, all of you had a chance to attend our DEFCON First 2020 conference, and it was live last weekend. If you have not, or you have any interest, you could join us on Discord. You can join us you can find the link to Discord on our website, which is www.defconfurs.com. Or you can check out the talks that are available on YouTube. I actually don't know the YouTube link, but I'm sure it's posted up
It's
someplace.
below us on the
Okay,
Twitch
cool.
channel. So
Thank you.
Channel description or on our website, 2020.dcfurs.com has links to everything related to the event. So all the VODs are on YouTube.
And this will also recording this, and we'll put this up online as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Listen, I want to ask you. We'll start with you, KittyFang.
okay.
Or Kit Kat. What have you coming to DEFCON Furs this year and realizing as you made that transition to go from in person to online? What experience did you have? Did you have much experience doing online events like this prior to DEFCON Furs 2020?
Events? No. I mean, obviously, it's DEF CON. I work in IT for small, medium-sized companies, and so we've done video conferencing solutions. I do stream casually on the side just because I enjoy it, not trying to make a business of it. But I have worked with several friends and stuff that got into it and have really turned their channels into a job and a revenue stream, and they enjoy doing a lot and work with some other people local here. So I have some experience, but not professional experience and not extensive experience at all. At all.
Okay.
So
Cool. How about you, Metavulp?
So I mainly got involved with DEFCON Furs from the beginning. Things started kicking off in 2017, but before that, I think 2009 was the first convention I attended and volunteered at, and since then I've always kind of preferred to volunteer at conventions more so than attend them, because I find working the convention is more fun to me usually than just seeing all the things hanging out,
Cool.
between shifts. But I love helping build stuff for the community, and making kind of an impact in that way. Most of my experience pre-show would be either working in registration or in main stage with lighting and sound.
Any experience doing anything online prior to this?
The only thing really event focused wise that I've done for a purely online aspect would have been recently, due to the pandemic and getting into VR chat. There's a community that hosts events like every other weekend of like a virtual club with DJs and stuff, and so help organizing that every other weekend and getting people to show up and stuff.
Cool. How did that? I'm gonna next question here. So it looks like well, you've both had some experience doing online, helping produce online things for friends or with the VR chat. Nothing like an online conference. Did I catch that right? Am I?
Nothing this big, no.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
So when you got started thinking about this, as we were all sort of forced to reconsider the in person thing, how did you get together the requirements? In other words, how did you decide what it is you even wanted to do?
Well, I mean, first we looked at. We weren't the only ones that had to suddenly go online conference. Obviously, there was DEFCON, there was uh, Women Hackers, there was Microsoft, there was, I mean, not just in the DEFCON community, but so many events that were going online. And so we took and I attended more than I normally would have, and half of that was with the being able to in the first place, but with the looking at it, how did they do it? How did it come together? What was good about it? What was bad about it? And just kind of taking notes. Obviously, we knew about that Twitch had a platform and Mixer was around still when we were looking at it, and things like that. And so we knew that people had the platform and the know-how to get it done with large amounts of viewers and efficiently and stuff like that. So we started looking around at different things, and then uh, ultimately, then we sat down and looked at our requirements, what we wanted to accomplish, and what we had available to us, and what our options were, and started going through those.
So, Metavulp, what were some of the key requirements?
Well, we knew that we wanted to do talks and have at least a track of live presenters. So with the fact that it's live, that means we needed a way to actually stream that. So one of the first thoughts was Twitch, and then we had some others through the staff meetings. We were kind of trying to decide how we wanted to package watching it, right? And that would drive kind of what's the middle way to get from the presenter to the viewer. And originally, I believe we wanted to have kind of you need to register to see what's going on live. So that made it a little more complicated because Twitch, by its nature, is open. There's no really way to gate who's watching your Twitch unless you're a partner. And so we started looking into stuff like our own streaming server. And another requirement that was more so for the DJs than it was the speakers was to enable a way to facilitate having two simultaneous incoming streams to the person running the main stream, so that they could overlap. The next DJ could start broadcasting to me and audio check and everything, and that way while the previous DJ is still going, and we could do a seamless cutover without there having to be any more than a brief pause in the music to transition between DJs. For the talks, I don't think that was as critical because we had the 15-minute intermissions and could literally just go to a be right back screen, right?
Okay. So you're kind of like DJing the DJs. Is that what you're sort of doing there? You're like pre-queuing stuff and
Yeah, so I have a line. I'd have both DJ feeds, during the transitions, I'd have both DJ feeds up. One would be muted, the other would be full, and then I would basically transition the volume down on the previous DJ, bring up the volume on the other while switching the scene over to the next DJ to kind of basically live changeover. I wouldn't be like mixing the tracks together, but it would be in my control of when the switch happens versus saying, okay, go, there being a delay of that message being read by the person, them doing the start of their music, and then the delay to get back to me and then being sent out. It creates a bigger pause and it doesn't seem like everybody's together.
cool. So as you're going through these requirements, right? You kind of had to select a bunch of different technologies, right, to fit the requirements. Looking to try and gate people getting in, right? Being able to host it across multiple kinds of platforms to get to streamline that end user experience. How did you pick the tech? You kind of started with that KitKat. Can you give me some more examples of how you actually decided and narrowed yourself down to the tech you actually decided to run?
Um, well, and so we went through a lot of things. We initially had looked at what kind of runway we had to the event, and let's face it, there's a lot of work, especially when you're planning on an in-person event. And so we were looking at what was out there that we could use out of the box. And so obviously Twitch, Mixer made the list. We actually looked at Microsoft Teams, and while next year that would probably have all the technical requirements, uh, being an open public event and being able to stream to it with OBS, those two features of Microsoft Teams conflicted. If we wanted a private event, we could stream to it using OBS, but if we wanted it open and public, we could just share our screen in Teams. And so that didn't work. And so you got one or the other there. And so obviously that one got cut out soon. We also looked at running our own RTMP relay, which we ultimately did for ingesting some speaker content. And then we also gave speakers the ability to give us content over Discord or Microsoft Teams, although we all ultimately just used Discord and the RTMP relay just because that was easier for the speakers and nobody that was natively using Teams already. And
Okay.
after that, we looked at what capabilities each had. Whether we wanted it to be a public conference, which happened went back and forth quite a bit there, whether there was going to be some admission or not, and that changed requirements greatly. And when it was finally decided that it was just going to be open to the public and ask for donations, we very quickly just shifted to Twitch instead of our own website, just because they had the infrastructure, they had everything. And then ultimately on that day, they were apparently overloaded, and we didn't get transcoders until an hour after the DJ started.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure what the causation was there. I still suspect it to be you have to complete a first stream on the channel before they turn it on, maybe, because
Very
that was our first
possibly,
time.
yeah. I
So
mean,
if
and
you word to everyone else, if you're gonna create a brand new Twitch channel to stream on, do some other streams before the event to establish it as not a brand new channel so that you can make sure that you have all of the settings you need. So what we're talking about is transcoding. If you don't know what that is, normally when you stream to Twitch or another platform, you're streaming at full quality. So for us, we're sending this, I think, at 1080p, 60 frames per second,
yes,
6,000 kilobytes per second, and that is great if you can watch HD, but if you don't have the bandwidth to watch that, or you're watching on a phone, normally on most Twitch channels, you have a little gear icon that says, hey, I want this at source 1080p, or actually I want to just watch it at 720p, 30 frames per second, or some lower quality, or even audio only is an option. And the way that happens is Twitch is actually taking just our one feed and then making versions that are lower quality and simultaneously sending them out for you to choose from. So we didn't have transcoding on our Twitch account until after the entire talk section and an hour into DJs. So people could only watch in 1080p, or if they don't have the bandwidth, they just couldn't really watch it. They would stutter because it takes a lot of internet for that. So that was entertaining. It actually was a bigger problem for the DJs because one of the requirements we had as well was for the dances during the DJ sections, we wanted to live stream the DJ video feed into VR chat, the game, in a club instance we had set up for people to hang out in. And most of the video players that are accessible to other players are in 720, 30 frames per second. And if we had just stayed on Twitch, which works in VR chat, they wouldn't have been able to watch it at all because it's only sending out 1080p. So we actually fell back to our own live streaming server to do that for us. I could talk a little bit more about our server later.
Okay, I want to roll back to a question, comment that Kika made about the shift between gated entry, essentially like a donation to enter and watch live, and deciding to just go for all open, make it public. How did that change kind of how you thought about requirements? So I'm going to ask Metavulp.
Okay, so basically the main change there is, do we need to lock the viewing of the stream or not? Because if the answer is no, then you can use any platform that allows public streaming, which you would think would be all, but again, like if we wanted to do like Teams, we couldn't make it public, right?
Well, we could, but not and use OBS to compose a good quality stream.
So there was a technical aspect to the back end of that, but basically most streaming platforms are meant to be consumed by the mass public, right? You just go to the Twitch URL, you can watch it. You go to YouTube and click on the live feed and watch it. It doesn't care who you are, just that you click on the right channel and turn on this feed. But if we want to make that you have to register before you can see what's going on the live feed, there needs to be that functionality in the platform. And most of these free to use platforms where you don't have to pay to stream or for the bandwidth are meant to be public. So having the requirements saying, hey, somebody needs to donate like at least $5 to log in and see the stream, you need to be able to put that behind something. And when we were looking into that, one of the cheapest ways to accomplish it was to host your own streaming server that people could connect to, and then basically your website would be the wall that requires you to log in before it shows you the player that links to the server. So whether or not it'd be a free event that we would require a login for was a significant factor on what streaming platform to use because of that requirement of whether it should be publicly accessible or not.
Okay, cool. I'm going to come back to the free or not free because I'm going to ask a question about how DEFCON and Human Plus worked. If you so
we're losing your audio a bit, Steve.
So going back, okay. Hopefully it's better now.
Yeah, now you're good.
Maybe not. Okay, thank you. So at the end of the day, maybe Kitty, you can talk about what were the things, what were the tech, what did the platform actually consist of?
So, and Aloe made a little visual before this. We actually, it was a moving target a little bit. Let me find the... Excuse me. So, basically we took, and presenters could either present to us over an RTMP relay, which was that self-hosted server that Aloe just spoke about, or Metavulp. I call you Aloe too much. And then basically, and I was actually the one doing the streamer role that you see down in the bottom of this, is during the event, I was ingesting content either via Discord or that RTMP relay from each presenter, each talk person, and then composing it into our views, our overlays, all the schedule and rotating messages and things like that. And then we streamed that out to Twitch in the end. Ultimately, we were going to send that back to our streaming server, which would then go to our website and ultimately have the option of being restreamed to Twitch. But the DC Furs website, VR chat for the DJs, we were going to stream into Second Life at some point, but we just did not get those streaming requirements handled in time for the event. And so that we cut that part out. And then ultimately we recorded actually here locally as I was streaming and on the RTMP server, and Twitch kept a recording. So we had 3 different recordings going on for the entire event in case anywhere we lost something. And actually we did. Like, I actually had to download one of the talks from Twitch because my recording got messed up when I was transferring it. And there was a little bit of corruption and not a big deal because we accounted for that.
So I heard RTMP for input, right? Discord, right, for on the input side,
Yes.
right? And then you said that from there it was. Did you stream directly from Discord into Twitch, or did you?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I use OBS Studio, but OBS Studio, Streamlabs, OBS, XSplit, all pretty much the same thing. They'd have all done the job just as well.
Okay. And did you pick OBS for a reason?
I use it for my own stream.
Okay. Cool. And then I noticed that then so it was out on Twitch. People could watch it on Twitch, and then it ended up on YouTube. How did it? So maybe Metavulp, you could talk to us about how it gets from Twitch to YouTube.
Yeah. So basically, you can enable this setting on Twitch where you have it record. It's called a VOD, video on demand. But generally, basically, when you use like OBS or another tool to stream to one of these platforms, you can also have it record locally a copy to your hard drive. And basically, what we did then was take the recordings of all the talks and take the recordings of all the DJs, and depending on whether or not you started and stopped recording, that might be just the length of the talk, or it might be 8 hours, and you have to cut it up so that it's only each individual talk for the different YouTube videos you want, and then you upload them as individual files to YouTube, and the rest is, just configure the YouTube settings of what it should be called, and if you want to add it to a playlist. Some of the Kat did the editing on the talks. I did the editing on the DJs, and one of the things I also did in that aspect was, because you have different DJs, with their different settings for live, a lot of the audio levels were different between each DJ, and some of them had a microphone that was way too loud compared to the music. So one of the things that I did, besides just cutting in and ending between each set and adding a little intro video, was I set the volume to -3 dB for the entire set, and kind of skimmed through it for any like loud parts or where they changed the volume knob, and made it so that before and after the change in audio level, it's still at the same level. That way, when you listen to it on YouTube, it's a constant volume level experience, and that's something you might want to consider if you have more than one source of audio in your talks, is kind of setting a value to normalize the level at.
Okay. So I'm going to go to both of you now. In the end, after you made the decisions and if you kind of got the requirements put together and you brought this thing all live, and I personally enjoyed the heck out of watching it. I thought it looked great online. I thought the Twitch stream was pretty exciting to watch. The DJs were awesome. I didn't try VR chat. I don't have a VR rig, so I didn't join. I found out later that I didn't need one, but that was my ignorance there. Um, did this set of tech actually achieve the goals you had set out for yourself, or you know, and if it didn't, where didn't it? Either one could take this. Start at either one. You can start.
Um, yeah, I'll let you start with the DJs. And how it went for you.
So, it definitely helped with the DJs. One of the when you're trying to do a live stream with two DJs at the same time that are also live streaming, there's the very easy way to get a rig it together, so to speak, which is what we usually do for like the other event that I mentioned that happens for VR chat. We usually have 4 to 6 live DJs that go back to back in hour segments, and somebody like me or one of the other staff would basically watch them as the sole viewer of their stream, and then open up, their stream. They would stream on Twitch. They would have one person watching, that would be me. I'd have their stream open in a browser, and then I'd use something like OBS to capture their browser window, and restream it to the official event Twitch, right? And that was a way to accomplish having more than one incoming stream switch between the DJs without interrupting the main broadcast. Because you could have it where you share keys, and DJ1 would stream on your channel, then they would stop streaming, there would be an interruption, and DJ2 would start streaming on your channel. That's one way to do it. This is kind of like the easiest way where you're just watching their Twitch. This is like the next level of doing it the better way, kind of, so to speak. We had our own streaming source, our own streaming server that we gave the DJs alternating keys to. So the first DJ would have, presenter 1, the second DJ would have presenter 2, the third DJ would have presenter 1, and it would go back and forth. That way, no two DJs that would be transitioning between each other overlap on the same feed. And then I'm just switching between A, B, A, B, A, B on the hour without having to cut off anything, and without them having to stream to nobody on their Twitch feed, right? And then there's just the mastered output from my computer. So having the tech setup we did with this server really smoothed out dealing with other factors or confusion on what Twitch channel to watch for what DJ. It's just everything's on our channel. You don't have to go anywhere else. It's not going to randomly pause, and that's really important also for VR chat. Anytime anything happens to the feed from Twitch into the world of a VR chat, it breaks everybody's player, and the world host has to go into the control and restart the stream to get everybody synced up again, and it's a whole pain in the butt.
So it sounds like you were pretty darn happy how it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the talks, it was a little bit of some different challenges, and something that really solved some other problems that we saw as we attended talks like the Microsoft and the Women Hackers, and so many talks went online this year, and a lot of them, whether they were 15-minute talks, hour-long talks, etc., were just back to back to back to back talks, and it's like, okay, I want to get up and go to the bathroom. What do I want to miss? I had to choose what to miss, and I wasn't the only one that felt that way. And so we had said very early on that we were going to have an intermission between every talk, so that people could get up, stretch their legs, get a drink, answer an email if they're working. I mean, do whatever was needed to do. That it wasn't a job to come sit and watch the stream with us. But that also, during the talks, basically gave me 15 minutes from when one talk was done to get them offboarded from the stream and the next one onboarded and ready to go. Because we went and basically set up a production role for the stream, we didn't have to worry about synchronizing overlays or video or logos or anything like that. all we had to ingest from our presenters was their content and their camera. They didn't care about what overlay it was going into. They didn't care about what text was around it or anything like that. And so it made it very easy for them. It made it easy for us to control and standardize. No matter what talk you were looking at, you saw the same logos, the same overlays, the same labels, and it was in the same audio pipeline. And so it just produced a much more quality event than if each individual streamer just used their own stream key to stream to the channel, because depending on your browser and your computer, when that switch happens, sometimes you have to refresh to get the next stream.
Yeah, definitely seen some of that. I've been attending various online events, and there's ones where you can tell what they're doing is they're basically throwing it from place to place, the stream from place to place, and there's this choppiness, and this our show last week, of course, didn't have that. It seemed very smooth, which is a testament, I think, from my perspective as a viewer. I thought you guys achieved that kind of level of professionalism that was really impressive. Looks like Metavulp, you're about to say something.
I was just laughing. Yeah, it was cool and collected everywhere. Behind the scenes, right? No, I think compared to like I've staffed at many conventions, and even whether it's online or not, there's a lot of moving parts, and planning is a big component into how you can reduce the issues you run into at the event, whether it be online or in person. And I think there were some key things that we did to help reduce the number of problems we had to solve during the live event. Obviously, there's no way that you're not going to have zero problems. There were things that came up that we dealt with, and if you noticed them, but hopefully none of them were a showstopper for you. And some of these key things were we had a goal, even though everything was pretty last minute, right? We sent out speaker selections less than a month out, right? And we wanted to have a dry run with every single speaker, with however they were going to send their feed to us live. We wanted to say, hey, let's set up a date and time. We'll have an hour. You stream to us on our server, or you stream to us on Discord, and you do it as though it was live. And that allowed us to do the first 30 minutes of fixing all the things that nobody knew was going to be an issue. And that way we're doing it then and not during the show. We only have that 15-minute intermission. We don't have 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or oh no, I got to reboot my computer, or I wasn't expecting it to be this way, right? It does two things. It helps you solve the problems you didn't think of on your end for what you need to do to show that presenter stuff properly, or that wasn't communicated clearly in an email or whatever. And then it helps the presenter say, okay, I'm going to stream live. I haven't done this before, or I haven't done it for this setup or for this event. What the heck am I doing? Like, what do I connect to? Who do I talk to? Who do I bother? What do I need to install? There's 101 questions that you can't cover in an email in an intro from the speaker lead to the speaker. So this helps them be like, okay, I practice this. I know exactly how it's going to do. I know what I need to mentally prepare. I know that I need to reboot my computer or whatever they need to do beforehand. They know how it's going to go. They can not stress about the tech and just stress about, oh my God, I'm going to be live in front of people, if that's a stress factor for them, right? They can focus on the talk and stop worrying so much about the tech by doing that dry run. Now, one of the other things we did with that dry run was we recorded it as a backup. So we wanted all of our talks this year to be live, and they all were. So that was great. But as a fallback option, in case, the bus factor, right, is what they say, or more likely a rolling blackout scheduled in the state that, from the hosts of this convention. Luckily, I was in the exempt zone, right? I was hosting all the DJs, but I'm in Southern California. So we had blackouts around the state during the event weekend, right? There's stuff you can't predict. Someone running into a telephone pole down the street and knocking out your internet, or just your internet being your internet and saying, well, it's great you pay us, but we decide when you have internet. So having this recording would allow us to say, hey, I know I'm on in 5 minutes, but there's no way that I can present, right? My computer just died. I spilled coffee on the keyboard, whatever. We could pull up that recording, and it wouldn't be as good of a quality as a live thing. It wouldn't be, that I have practiced before and now I'm more confident, right? It wouldn't be the full quality it could be, but it wouldn't be a dead hour, right? You would still be able to hear from the planned speaker in that recording. We could just play back the recording with our overlays on top of it, and it would be one of those kind of disaster recovery things you could do for your event. If you're having a live virtual event, record your dry run, you have it as a backup.
How about you, Kikat?
Yeah, I mean, and the dry runs they got shorter and shorter as we went on. The first one, we spent probably an hour just getting some problems, just run through this, run through that, reconfigure Nginx on our server, and I mean, that the first one was interesting, and then the last ones were okay. We already had all the overlays set up, and we knew how we were ingesting OBS. We knew how we were ingesting the RTMP, so it was okay. Once we got their information either into the RTMP or into the Discord streaming, it was a matter of, okay, if you're ready, we're gonna go. And we did the recording. Basically, I just kept my headset on and I went and got dinner, and they just presented. And so that went into a recording, and both again on my computer and on our server. So we had multiple recordings in multiple locations. And frankly, there was a lot more planned for the event that we didn't get done in time. I mean, and that was one of the biggest takeaways that I've got from this is there's a lot of things, and we are DEFCON Furs, and we are tech people, and it's like, oh, I can just write that myself. And there's a lot of times, well, Twitch has it. We don't need to. We can spend that effort somewhere else. And the thing is that there's always more than you think needs to be done. And so don't necessarily reinvent the wheel if you don't have to.
Okay. Good advice. Record first, do tech dry runs, take advantage of the tech that's out there. Don't try and invent your own unless you need to. Focus on the important part, which is putting together a solid show. It's good stuff. Final comments. From my perspective, I think this went brilliantly. For a first-time show with amateur volunteer staff, given the timetables, we got really positive feedback from our guests, our attendees. Right, really positive feedback from our attendees about the quality of the show, the quality of the talks, just the quality of the production, whether it was the DJs or it was the talks themselves. Is there anything you noticed that little tidbit you'd like to share that was like maybe people didn't notice, or we goofed, or you goofed, or it goofed?
I mean, when I had the nosebleed at the end of the SMT factory, I mean, and so there was just frozen video sitting there. It's like, yeah. Obviously, we cut that out of what we put on YouTube, but yeah. So I ended up having to rush away from the computer and got back, but still got back, got everything cut over, got the next speaker set up, and we started the next speaker on time. There were a few glitches that I had, and I'm not sure. Nobody's really pointed out any major ones that we had, other than things that we planned, like we wanted to have live updates to the CTF scores on stream. We wanted to have live updates to like what kind of donations we were raising for the different charities. And I'm not sure that even the donation page was quite updated necessarily by the time of the event with the different charities, in addition to the Hacky Lives and stuff that are being benefited by the donations and the swag and stuff like that. So, and that just kind of goes to show that I think everything came together and looked like a polished, finished event. And some people don't even know what was missing while we're sitting here like, crap, that's not here.
Yeah, it's definitely if you don't dig a hole and leave it there, right, you don't see what's missing. But there's always that I think, regardless of the size of your event or the number of staff you have, or I'm sure even if I'm not part of DEF CON, the big conference, I have no idea how it's put together or how many thousands and thousands and thousands of volunteers make that thing run the way it does. But I'm sure that it and group gatherings that have 10 people in a house both have people running it that envision one thing, that have really great ideas that if executed would be amazing, and you just can't do everything. And one of the important things to do is set a date. Like, hey, here's a thing that I want this to happen, and if it's not ready to go by this point in time before the event, cut it. Like, you can't ruin the rest of the event requiring just one thing that would have been part of it. You gotta make those decisions, right?
The Second Life, for instance. I mean, we were still messing with that restream to Second Life the night before, and it just wasn't coming together in time. And it's like, okay, we still have all of these things to get done and ready for the event. I'm just not going to worry about it anymore.
Okay, cool. We didn't do a Q&A session. There's no chat session for Q&A with this, unless there's something coming over Twitch. I didn't get a chance to look.
I don't see anything right now. People have been chatting. They let me know that the alert sounds were a little bit too loud, so we dropped those down. But other than that, yeah, please ask us any questions you want. I guess we'll hang out for a few more minutes. But it was a great event. We're looking to do better next year, better throughout the year. We're going to have some more talks, and we're going to keep this channel active on some things. We're not entirely sure what yet, but
probably at least a couple more behind the scenes things.
Yes.
I don't know. We haven't really like scheduled out anything for this channel, for this Twitch channel to be specific, and probably then recording on YouTube. Some ideas that were floated around where maybe we could have different groups or different people host community related things. Maybe like a session where somebody's going over CTF stuff, other stuff that would interest the whole community and maybe be educational or at least entertaining.
I mean,
more behind the scenes stuff.
More behind the scenes stuff, different educational things, different interesting things, and even we talked about several members of the DEFCON Furs community do stream, do game, even just having people on a schedule pick up the DEFCON Furs and stream there. So,
right.
Just
speed runs for us all.
A complete community engagement. We're still figuring all of that out, so we welcome your ideas. We do have a question in chat. What improvements would you make to the infrastructure to make things go smoother?
Very good question.
Reduce the distance so that everyone's in the same building. No. Get rid of the stream factor.
Yeah, I can only hope, right? There we go. So what else?
To the infrastructure. So,
go ahead.
I think we did okay with Twitch and stuff. One thing I did notice was we ended up using Restream.io or whatever it's called for part of the DJs, and that was the most unreliable part of our setup. Like we had our own private streaming server that had 3 ingests, right, and one master feed to the world that had transcoding to 1080, 720, and 480 or 490, whatever that last one is.
We dropped the last one, but yeah.
Yeah, so we had a server set up to do this, and when we found out that when we were going to use this as our sole thing, and then we made the decision to go public, right? So we just said, why make it complicated? Just use Twitch for the public. So we started streaming to Twitch for all the talks, and then during that we discovered that we didn't have transcoding. Maybe because we're a new channel, maybe because they didn't have them available, or we don't know why, right? So that was discovered live. We just dealt with it, 1080 only. I needed to not have that problem for the DJs. So because Kat was streaming all the talks and I was streaming the DJs, there was a forced interruption in the stream at the end of the talks and at the beginning of the DJs, because we're switching, from Nevada to California as a source. And one of the things I did to mitigate that was, well, everybody's been watching all day on Twitch, so we don't want to stop streaming there. But I need to use our streaming server for the VR chat and other stuff. So we got an account on Restream.io, and I started streaming to that, which could then send to Twitch. It could send to our server, and then it could send to for the DJ sessions. I even streamed on Twitter, Periscope, for the one person during the entire 12-hour sets that watched on there. I'm great. You had a good time. So that service kept stopping and starting. Like we would have the stream. I had 12 hours of live on my OBS, and I had like 16 dropped frames in 12 hours. But there was segments of where it would be like the stream started, the stream stopped, the stream started. And then you can kind of see that on our DC First Twitter, where it restarted the Periscope. It'd be like, DC Furs has started streaming. What do you mean? We're 6 hours in. What do you mean we just started, right? And so if we can avoid it next year, I would like to reduce the number of things between the source of the stream and the viewer to as minimal number of things, because each one of those things introduces a part that can fail. And in the case of Restream.io, that's like in the middle of the full path. So if that goes down, everything is affected. And you want to reduce the number of those types of fail points. So that's like one big thing I would change if we had to do the same setup again next year.
Excellent. How about you, Ken?
Basically, the biggest thing I would change is to take what we have done this year and move it forward. Like, this year we were starting from scratch, and that made a mountain to climb. And so we had to figure out every moving piece. And so now this year, obviously we've talked about that next year, if DEFCON is in person, we will be there. But we're not going to drop the online appearance after everything we've done this year. There's no reason we can't do both. We've got a huge kickoff with the event. We've talked to the volunteers that if we want to go affiliate, obviously there's no decisions there yet, but we're definitely going to do what we need to do to have the option with Twitch. That we basically just have to stream a few more times this month. We've already got the viewers, we've already got the hours, and things like that. So we've got a great starting point now. And so what I would change is that now we get to tweak and add and get all those little things that we wanted to have this year done. We get to streamline processes. We get to take and do things that if we do want to do it our own way better, we can, because we're not doing the entire stack.
Got it.
Definitely take advantage of infrastructure that we don't need to host ourselves, like using Twitch instead of trying to stream to hundreds of people using our own server. That was one of the reasons that when we did go public that we did swap to Twitch, is we didn't have problems with the server, but we definitely had some things to where over time load seemed to have an effect. And so we didn't, when we had the option to just go Twitch, where it's like, okay, fine, they're going to handle the infrastructure. So we don't have to worry about a problem coming up and having to restart the web server halfway through the event and things like that. And so taking advantage of those
other
things.
Other than the transcoding part, of course.
Yeah, especially like to have 200 viewers and not have transcoding, I still don't know how that happened. Like back in the day before affiliates existed, you had 15 viewers, you had transcoders, and so it baffled me a little bit, but it was what it was, and we couldn't do anything about it at the time. That's kind of the things that is basically settle and move forward on what we've done this year is really going to just make next year better.
Excellent.
So
So yeah, I want to reemphasize that we will be coming back. There will be more programming coming onto this channel, so keep watching the Twitter. Keep watching our Telegram and our Discord. Join us at 2020.defconfurs.com for more information on how to get in touch with us. Please donate.
DCFurs.com.
DCFurs.com, sorry. 2020.dcfurs.com. Yeah, please donate. We live and breathe on your donations. It keeps DEFCON Furs going.
We're a nonprofit.
So we are a nonprofit, so they are tax deductible. So please come and help. And if you're interested in volunteering, there is a how to volunteer link on the website. And joining us and learning more about how the sausage is made. Like I said, how the sausage is made, they say behind the scenes. But keep watching. I want to thank our guest today, Metavulp. Thank you. KitKat, thank you. And if you have further questions, please hit us up on. You're welcome to hit us up. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Discord. Hit us up on Telegram, even, and we'll try to answer them. With that, I want to thank you again. Congratulations again on a very successful show, you two. I thought it was great. And hopefully for our audience, you get to tune in next time. We look forward to talking to you again.
And
take care. Thanks.
Thank you for all the follows through the event. And
Yeah.
I believe, not to throw Metavulp under the bus here, but you said there was some more swag coming, like in the form of a flag.
Yes. There will be more options available. Right now the focus is on the badge, but we do want to have like a flag, like the one behind you, kind of, but with the DC Furs glitch logo, and some other ideas of cool knickknacks to show your support.
Cool.
So
donate.dcfurs.com.
Yes, donate.dcfurs.com. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you again soon.
thank you, everybody.